Okay, talking out loud, this new idea. Not very loud because I'm the only one awake and I'm in the studio garage, but you know, I don't want to be loud. So I just had a thought. I mean, I have had this same thought for a long time, but I haven't been able to translate it into actual language. But I've had the metaphor, um, and the metaphor is making soup. So making soup is something that one can accomplish in many ways. When a person can accomplish something in many, 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 many ways, that means that there is no one correct or ideal way of doing it. Each way is individual, even though recipes for kinds of soup exist. And people do reproduce kinds of soup. Let's pretend a minestrone soup, which is actually one that I've been working on my whole life. So yeah, one of my kids really likes, well, my eldest likes minestrone and doesn't like vegetables. So it's the only way I can put vegetables into his body is to put it in soup. So, so I figured that out, you know, 20 some odd years ago. And I've been working on perfecting my recipe for soup. And so the perfection of this kind of soup, this minestrone, well, I use the same ingredients, but I don't use the same ingredients each time. I make little substitutions, and I also I don't use calculated quantities. Okay, I just throw it together with what I have on hand, which is usually mostly the same. But it doesn't have to be, and this is the point. Each time I make this soup, it tastes like itself. It tastes like minestrone soup. But it also is its own unique pot of soup that only will occur that one time. Not just because of how I put it together, but because each ingredient is its own unique self as well. Each zucchini, each kidney bean, each tomato grew in a place that was different from the time before, right? So I can never make the same soup twice, just like I can never step into the same river twice. Heraclitus might be the philosopher who came up with that. That's the name that's in my head. But I have a few Greek philosophers in my head, so I could be picking out the wrong one. In any case, I can't make the same soup twice because that's impossible. Also, I cannot design a soup before I make a soup. Everyone who believes that they are designing a soup, inventing a new recipe, they are not. There is no such thing as designing a soup because you can write down the recipe, but it will never be what was in your mind. The ideal that you had envisioned cannot come to reality. There is no such thing as an actual triangle. There are only idealized triangles in our minds. But we go out in the world, we can't find one for real because the ideal doesn't actually exist. The folly of science being misused, all right, misunderstood. And this happens in many disciplines, and I'm sad to say it happens in mine too. People misunderstand. They misunderstand what bias is, and they try to protect against biases that are known to occur without understanding how those particular biases play out in the particular situation that is being studied. In my PhD, I am supposed to write the recipe for the soup before I make the soup. And then I'm supposed to stick to the recipe, which is like boring, right? You didn't work that hard on making a recipe of the ideal soup. Why bother even making the soup? The only way I'm going to make the soup is if I am interested in having soup that day. So, will I be able to make this PhD soup? I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to make the things, papers and such, and I will have my soup made at the end. I will say, here's my soup, and I will want to share my soup. But maybe I'm going to share it with different people who like soup. Not ideal soup, but like real soup. I just want to keep it real. That's it. Okay. So those are my thoughts. I'll think about them some more.